The X-Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network and our fine family of broadcast affiliates across Canada, the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, Asia, and Europe. Our toll-free number is 1-877-528-8255. That's toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. On MSN Messenger, TalkStarRadio at hotmail.com. My email address is xzone@talkstarradio.com. And our website, www.xzoneradio.com. Joining me now is my good friend Patrick Cooke. Patrick joins us every week to bring us up to date on the weird, the bizarre, the improbable, the impossible, and sheer stupidity in the news. And Pat, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
Well, I'm doing fine. The rain gods have really been angry with us out here in California this last week.
Yeah.
They've been pounding us to oblivion out here.
I know. I was chatting with Serona Knight, who was in Chico, California earlier today, and she's a scheduled guest on next week, and she said she loves to come on to the show, and she'll be here if they fix the telephone lines by then. You're really getting it there.
People, even after all this time, we've still got a whole bunch of people without power out here.
Oh, my God.
We had winds, rains, everything that you don't like.
I thought the song says it never rains in California.
Uh-huh. I'm up to my ankles in the never rain in California out here.
Oh, my heavens. Now, yeah, I was talking to Dr. Sky in the last hour, and I was telling him that today here in Hamilton, it was in the low 50s. All the snow that I was complaining about a couple of weeks ago has gone.
Wow. Is that unusual for you guys up there?
Totally out of whack.
Yeah, you should be in the dead of winter about now, shouldn't you?
That's right.
Yeah. You still got snow on the ground, or is that all gone away, too? 50 degrees, everything's melting out.
It's all gone.
Wow.
It's all gone.
Got lots of flowers blooming. All the flowers think it's spring, and all the birds are flitting around. What's going on
I don't know about flowers. I didn't see any this afternoon before I came down to work in the studio, but who knows what'll be there tomorrow morning. I may have a palm tree in the front yard.
Yeah, it's happening all over, Rob. We're having strange weather patterns everywhere. This is one of the most severe storms we've had, and we've just had it's just dumped tons and tons of snow. Many feet of snow up in the mountain ranges here in California. So it's getting really strange.
I understand that in one part of the mountain ranges up in California, the snow measured 10 feet in one fall.
Yes. Isn't that incredible? Now, that is the equivalent. A lot of people don't realize it, but for every foot of snow, you've got 1 inch equivalent of rain. So that would be the equivalent of a single 10-inch rainstorm. So imagine how much snow that actually is.
And imagine what kind of flooding the snow can cause when it melts later on.
Yeah, well, of course, we have a problem out here, as we have all over the United States, with a drought. We're down to, some of our reservoirs are down into single-digit reserve numbers out here. So, of course, it all depends on, now there's another factor that you have to consider here, is how much water what is the water content of the snowpack. It could be good or bad, but we certainly do need the moisture. There's no question about it. I don't know what this last storm brought us up to, but it certainly did help.
All right, Pat, please stand by. More of the Cooke Report when we come back from this 2-minute commercial break. Our guest is my friend Patrick Cooke. His website is www.bibleufo.com. Strange weather, strange times, and we'll be reporting all the weird news as it comes to us here on the X-Zone. To you, the X-Zone Nation, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, exclusively on Talkstar. Don't go away.
That's how we living, and you can't touch this. Look in my eyes, man, you can't touch this.
Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Named one of the world's greatest psychics, Elizabeth Joyce is now giving readings worldwide via Skype. Elizabeth Joyce is recognized for her clairvoyant ability to help find missing persons, her analysis of dreams, past life regression work, mediumship, and her accurate predictions. Elizabeth has been a frequent guest on the X-Zone radio show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, now for several years. For an appointment with Elizabeth Joyce, call 201-934-8986 or Skype at elizabeth.joyce. And for more information, you can always visit Elizabeth Joyce online at www.new-visions.com.
You want to bet it doesn't rain? Ask Patrick Cooke. Patrick is in, let's see, where are you, Patrick? You're in San Francisco, aren't you? Why?
We're in Northern California.
You're in California. Man, it's still raining there, and of course, if it's raining in Northern California, I'm sure Southern California is also getting it.
Yeah, they're getting hit too.
So, Pat, last week I asked you a question about what goes on in the Caucasus.
Right.
Now, what does go on? Because, we had the Iowa caucus, now we're in the New Hampshire. There's a difference between what's going on in New Hampshire and what happened in Iowa, isn't there?
No, not really. It's the same thing. A caucus is generally defined as a meeting of supporters or members of a political party or movement. And, of course, the exact definition changes between, we have legislative caucuses, which are different. But this is for choosing the nominee for a political party. And what happens is they get together, anybody who is eligible to vote, and a member of the given political party. Of course, we have it very convenient narrowed down to 2 political parties here, although something very interesting is in the works right now, which I'll speak to in a minute. But it's basically the Democrats vote for their nominees, and the results of that vote, the percentage of that vote, determines how many delegates go to the convention committed to a given candidate. So, like a lot of people don't realize, but this is not the second caucus in line. Wyoming had a caucus between Iowa and New Hampshire, and there were only 12 delegates at stake, so you don't get a lot of coverage about that. But basically, that's what it is. They choose the delegates that go to the convention that are committed to a particular candidate. And that's when the wheeling and dealing all comes. These big conventions, you see all these votes going back and forth and all the wheeling and dealing going on. That's what they're doing, is they're trading delegates. Sometimes they'll release delegates and things like that. So that's what is happening right now, is the delegates to those conventions, particularly the Democratic and the Republican convention, are being chosen by the people within the state. Every state is assigned a certain number of delegates.
Now, I understand, according to, I'm watching some of the news feeds, and CNN is reporting that Obama has taken a significant lead over Hillary. And are you surprised about that?
This is a very interesting phenomenon. The last man that made a run for the President of the United States, the last black man that ran a presidential campaign, was Jesse Jackson. And he actually, I believe he ran twice. And in his first run, I believe he actually won 13 caucuses in his first run. But what seems to be happening here is the United States is beginning to change its ideas about, here we've got Hillary Clinton, a woman, very strong candidate in for the Democrats. Of course, all the Republicans are male, which is standard in their party. There's very few. I don't know of any women that have ever run in the Republican Party for any significant office except for governorships and a few senators and representatives. But it's interesting, this phenomenon seems to be changing the cultural reality of how a president, what we consider a president. People are beginning to look beyond the color line and beginning to realize that Obama has a good plan. And, of course, I only supported one candidate in the entire race, and that's Dennis Kucinich. And Kucinich has actually committed his support, the support of his candidates, to Obama as well. So it looks like we may have and of course he was, the first time we heard from him was, I believe, the Democratic convention when George Bush was elected. I don't believe it was the last one, but the one before this one, or it possibly was the one before this. I mean, the last one. But he is a rising star, and he's got some good ideas, and I think he may be popular. While, on the other hand, what's interesting is, you see, Mike Huckabee, what they believe is that it's going to be between Obama and Edwards, and surprisingly, Hillary Clinton has dropped into third place insofar as the considerations of her possibilities for the New Hampshire caucuses. So we may see her fading, and she's beginning to, from her words, she's beginning to weigh under the pressure of this election, which is fascinating. She is 60 years old. That's one thing that we have to consider. She's no spring chicken, and she's out there really, really working hard. And, of course, she's running uphill right now. On the other side, for the Republicans, the Big Mac is back, or so that's the slogan that they're using. John McCain is favored. It's sort of a toss-up between him and Mitt Romney, former governor. So it's going to be interesting to see the way that goes. Mike Huckabee is running third in that race. However, he is only really supported by some really radical Christian concepts. the organizations and things like that. I don't think he's going to have much of a chance to get in. But there's always the problem that he might, and we always have to realize that this man is very radical religiously. He's a theocrat at heart. He believes that the United States should be run by Christian or biblical law. Well, Christian law, I don't believe it has anything to do with biblical law, but Christian concepts. So it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see what happens. No, this is a key race a lot of people don't realize. No candidate has ever lost the Iowa and the New Hampshire caucuses and gone on to be nominated to their party. So that's why this is a key. That's why everybody's really busting their tails out there. They're really canvassing the state because all the ones that lost, they don't want to lose again because they've got that against them. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens tomorrow.
Now, as interesting as the what's going on in the States is for us up here, your northern neighbors, because, we're watching very closely the year 2010 and the North American Union. An event happened with some Iranian ships and some U.S. naval vessels this morning, Patrick, that shocked a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think, it seems like they're making a mountain out of a molehill here. They use the term, the mainstream networks are using the term an Iranian fleet of high-speed boats. But there's the important thing right there. These weren't, you see, Iran has a navy, a very small navy, and it's made up of basically a lot of speedboats and things like that. Probably we're talking more like these little Coast Guard vessels that you see. I don't know what you have up there in Canada, but we have Coast Guard boats, very small boats. They're not very large. And apparently there were 2 destroyers and a frigate out there, and apparently they felt that these boats were threatening. This was in the Strait of Hormuz, through which runs 20% of all of the world's oil. Runs right through that little strait. There's a little, if you look at it on the map, there's a little tiny entrance to a big bay, and that's where all that oil runs through from Iran and Iraq and all those nations. All that oil comes through there. So the United States is very touchy about it. Britain is very touchy about it, and apparently they took it as a threat. But according to the Iranians, nobody was fired. Nobody was fired upon or anything like that. But there was a confrontation. And for some reason, neither one of them seemed to be able to identify the other. So I think this is just a lot of saber rattling. Of course, we are, George Bush is keeping on that mantra that Iran is a threat. So any kind of incident is going to be blown out of proportion. But I don't think a few high-speed boats are any threat whatsoever to 2 destroyers and a frigate together. That's almost an entire navy in itself.
Oh, I listened to that this morning and I kind of chuckled because, here you've got these little boats going after the big boys. Like, these big boys could have blown them out of the water at 60 miles away.
Well, this rings, this echoes to me because that's exactly how the Vietnam War got started, with supposedly small riverboats, basically, PT boats, the equivalent, John Kennedy's PT-109, those kind of boats, attacked the USS Hood, which was a destroyer in the Gulf of Tonkin. It was called the Gulf of Tonkin Incident. It turned out that it never happened, as we now know, but it was the actual cause for the Vietnam War, exactly this kind of thing. But the problem is, we're just, we are all over there. We've got three major carrier groups over there right now, and there's a lot of territorial disputes about who controls that water right there because it's a prime thing. So there's always going to be problems. We just need to learn to get along. We don't need to get close to firing on one another or anything like that, as it would seem that the reports from the Pentagon say almost happened. They claimed that the Iranians this is like the story of the snail on the turtle's back yelling, "Wee!" This is this little tiny group of ships is apparently, for some reason, this is really funny. Told them they were going to blow them out of the water. which obviously they couldn't do. So, without getting creamed immediately if they even tried.
Yeah, well, apparently...
So, but, this, we don't need this. Actually, we can laugh about it, and we can, laugh about the irony of the situation, but this is very threatening. The United States said there could have been a major incident, so we've got to be, but of course they're not being careful. I would say, we need to be a little bit gentler, but no, they're not. That's not the way they're approaching it. They're approaching it aggressively, very aggressively over there, and this is things like this are bound to happen, and it could get much worse.
All right, Patrick, please stand by. You and I have to take our break for the news at the bottom of the hour. Patrick Cooke is our special guest. His website is www.bibleufo.com. We're going to be talking about gotcha capitalism. We're going to be also talking about radical religion versus the environment, and how the Pakistani army is saying the U.S. military is not welcome in Iran, in Pakistan. No, it's not welcome to Iran either. But we're speaking about Pakistan, and then the Pentagon once again is saying that the ships were harassed by Iranian vessels. Another concern was the Iranian vessels were tossing white boxes into the strait, and the American ships did not know if there were explosives in those boxes, and they also did not know whether or not these vessels were laden with explosives, and they were going to be ramming them into the American ships. These people obviously knew nothing about naval warfare, because if they did, they would have known that they would have been blown out of the water very fast should they have crossed a certain line. I'll be back on the other side of the news. Don't go away.
Do you sell dietary supplements? If so, you may know that the Food and Drug Administration and the Federal Trade Commission regulate your sales presentations. Violation of the federal rules can lead to stiff penalties. You really must know the law. Fortunately, help is just a phone call away. Law Talk Incorporated has produced a CD series, 4 CD interviews with renowned attorney Jonathan W. Mord that explain the legal limits on sales presentations. The CD series guides you through FDA and FTC regulation, explaining the law that governs sales presentations, website content, and health claims, as well as global restrictions on supplement sales. This is a must-buy for network marketers and supplement companies alike. To obtain the CD series, call 1-888-RU-FREE-1. 1-888-RU-FREE-1. That's 1-888-783-7331. Call today.
It's the most wonderful time.
Have you heard about the holiday gift Premier Psychics is giving to all their first-time callers? In addition to 10 minutes for the low price of $25, Premier Psychics is offering a holiday greeting special that allows any first-time caller to receive a full 10 minutes for free after their initial 10-minute call. So call Premier Psychics now, sign up for 10 minutes for only $25, and they will see 10 free minutes added to your account at the end of your first call to them. Call Premier Psychics today, 1-866-803-6593, or visit Premier Psychics online at www.premierpsychics.com. A very Merry Christmas and the best of the new year to one and all from Premier Psychics, where the extra E in Premier stands for excellence.
Once again, that toll-free number is 1-866-803-6593, or visit Premier Psychics online at www.premierpsychics.com.
Do you have a dis-ease that you would like to alleviate through a natural means? Have you been contacted by angels, ghosts, or even extraterrestrials and want to validate these experiences? Or would you simply like to speak with someone who can help you find your life's purpose? I'm Dr. Joseph Mara, and I'm offering my services free of charge for first-time clients contacting me during the month of April. These free consultations include angel card readings, guided meditations, life coaching, and energy healing. If you have always wanted to explore these types of experiences but were skeptical or simply could not afford them, then take advantage of this free special offer. Contact me through my website, aguidinglight, spelled lite.com, to schedule your consultation today. Until then, I offer you love, light, and laughter.
If you enjoy reading a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love From Out of the Woodwork by William S. Peckham. Sean Kennedy, a Toronto contractor, buys derelict houses, guts them, and turns them into multi-family dwellings. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, a century house in ruins, and starts the renovation, the house fights back. He is visited by ghosts of owners past. His visions are triggered by touching an oak mantle, reading a faded letter, opening an old locket, or opening a brand new casket in the basement. These visions will take you on a trip across southern Ontario from Niagara Falls to Toronto to Kingston. From Out of the Woodwork is now available in paperback and on your favorite electronic reader. To order your copy of From Out of the Woodwork, go to www.williamspeckham.com. That's www.williamspeckham.com.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty.
Patrick Cooke is my special guest. Pat joins us every Monday night at this time for the Cooke Report. His website is www.bibleufo.com. Let's look at some of the other stories in the news, Patrick. Let me see. Gotcha Capitalism. Now, this is a book you'd like to recommend.
Yes, this is absolutely fascinating. You know, every once in a while, one of these things will come along like sicko was to the medical profession, loose change was to the 911 event. This is the equivalent of a 911 in your pocketbook. There's a book out called Gotcha Capitalism. It's by Bob Sullivan, who is the author of the Red Tape Chronicles on MSNBC. He's actually a technology editor, and he studies cell phone technology and things like that, and he began to notice that there were a lot of problems. So what he did was he got together with a group and analyzed all the fees and charges that are on credit cards, banks, cellular phones, air travel, hotels, cable TV, and satellite service, home internet access, retirement services, insurance, and groceries nationwide. Now, just for an example, this is an amazing factor. Banks make 30% of their profit from ATM fees alone.
Holy cow.
For a
30%.
service which obviously saves them money. Now, think about these instances right here. You don't fill up the rental car. Now, this happens in the United States. I don't know whether it happens in Canada. You don't fill up the rental car with gas when you turn it in. The rental agencies charge you $7 a gallon. Your bank balance fell 1 penny below $1,000 for 1 day. They charge you $12. You miss one payment on an 18-month same-as-cash loan, that's a $512 charge. And now, this is actually happening. You've probably heard about this new thing that's happening with credit cards. This is unbelievable, but let's say you're 1 day late.
Oh, yes, they can shoot the interest
rate paying your
rate
electric
up.
bill. All of your credit cards suddenly shoot up to 29.99%.
Yeah.
Anything that goes wrong on your credit anywhere, no matter what it is, automatically it's monitored by all the rest of it, and you're automatically considered as a risk by all your other creditors. Now, amazingly, Consumer Reports in 2004 estimated that this was costing the American public $216 billion a year. Now, that's 4 years ago. So you can imagine it's much worse because it's gotten much worse since then. And that would mean, even at those rates, that would mean that every family would be paying $4,000 a year in these extra charges. And what it is basically corporations are nickel and diming their customers to death. They're coming in. They're not, it's like a big robbery, but they don't steal $1 billion all at once. They take it in, 50-cent extra charges on your phone bill, raising your rates. An internet phone company can raise your rates, and you don't even have to be informed about it.
Mm-hmm.
And what it's come down to now is that the most profitable firms in the industry, and all those industries that I just mentioned, are the ones that hide their prices the best under asterisks and deep inside terms and conditions in fees that they call taxes and bills that come months after the fact. So what's happening? I'm going to give you an interesting quote from Woody Guthrie in one of his songs. He says, "Some will rob you with a 6-gun, and some with a fountain pen." And this is what this man is talking about here. And we all know. I mean, I'm sure you've had it happen to you, haven't you?
Had it happen today, as a matter of fact.
Is that right?
We got we got a bill in, and we were double billed on everything. And
if you don't look at it real close, bingo.
Exactly.
You could pay it. There are situations that happen all the time that if you don't watch it. Now, apparently, this book, Gotcha Capitalism, it's number 13 on the books in Amazon right now, so it's a very popular book. And apparently, not only does this man explain how they do it, but obviously, I haven't seen the book. I just heard the man interviewed today, and I figured I had to bring this out because it sounded fantastic. He actually gives ways that you can get around. You can get some of those fees back and protect yourself from some of those things. So I just wanted to recommend that to the listeners. It seems like a fascinating book.
Okay, Patrick, let's look at this story. The Pakistan Army, U.S. military not welcomed in Pakistan.
Now, isn't that last week I reported that the U.S. military is going to send, well, basically what it is. Right now, I didn't know it, but I just found out today that we actually have 50 soldiers in Pakistan already, and we have a lot of CIA operatives that are based in Afghanistan that would be, that apparently cross the border and do a lot of business in Pakistan. And apparently, let's see, I believe Dick Cheney and Condoleezza Rice have discussed this, and the national security aides have been planning this after the December 27th assassination of Benazir Bhutto. The only problem is that they didn't bother to tell the president or the military of Pakistan. Now, this is what it says. This is absolutely amazing. A man by the name of Major General Wahid Arshad, who is the spokesman for the Pakistani military, says it's not up to the U.S. administration, it is the Pakistan's government who is responsible for this country. And apparently, all of that we were talking about and all these plans, the only people that don't know about it are the Pakistanis.
Well, did the U.S. government really think that the Pakistanis would just let them walk right in?
Well, we've got to consider there's something else here that's very strange. They are still trying to get into account for the $10 billion that we have given directly to the Pakistani government to hunt down Osama bin Laden, which they obviously haven't done. And, of course, what they're talking about here is they're talking about going in and doing these operations in the frontier areas of Pakistan. And a lot of people don't realize is that the government is not in control of most of that country. It's warlords, just like it is in Afghanistan. It's the same kind of thing. And so what's happening is that they want to get in there and apparently to make a good faith effort, at least, of trying to find Osama bin Laden, because everybody now you can't quote me on any good sources, but everybody seems to think that's where Osama bin Laden is, who's the one that supposedly we went after in Afghanistan. And somehow or another got messed up in Iraq, but we were supposed, and that was the mandate that the president was given in the War Powers Act that started this whole fiasco, was to go after Osama bin Laden, and apparently they haven't done it. So no, you figure a man who's not even going to who's obviously not even going to consider a fair election, has already, pretty much guaranteed that he's going to be the president of the country. There's no way he's going to give in to the United States. And of course, we knew that he was on the list of our. He was not part of the axis of evil, but he was he was like he was on the long list, not the short list. Before the events on September the 11th, 2001, and what happened was the whole thing. All of a sudden he became the darling of the United States, and he's still as mean and as he was before. He's still as big a crook as he was before. So it's fascinating.
That's going to be an interesting story to watch. And the Dominionists, radical religion versus the environment.
Yeah, this is something that this is a book that I've been an article that I've been planning for a long time. And basically, Dominion theology. This is I was just speaking about Mike Huckabee and the concept of a theocratic rule. But there's a number of people called the Dominionists, which particularly believe that Christ will not return to earth until the environment is almost completely destroyed, and they believe that they must actively participate in that destruction. And the article can be found on my website, the Bible UFO Connection, BibleUFO.com. I won't go into the details of it, but it's a fascinating article about, and I'm not talking about just thousands or tens of thousands of people. There are millions of people that hold these very radical views on how the country should be run. The evangelicals are particularly behind this, and they're a very large and powerful group. And the scary part, a lot of people don't realize that the foundation of this country was to prevent this kind of thing from happening to our government. The pilgrims that came over were escaping religious oppression or the attempt of the government to impose a religion upon them, and came over here and set up a set of rules and laws supposedly that would prevent us from getting to this point. Yet a lot of our lawmakers in this country, and particularly we can see this kind of thing with George Bush claims that he talks to God, and all these strange people. So this is an article I wrote that will give people an idea of one of the more radical elements of this Dominionist theology.
All right, let's take a look at, let me see, I'd just like to go back a little bit, if we could, on the election that's coming up, Pat. What is it, like Huckabee and Romney are depending on the evangelical vote. Romney, he's looking forward to his fellow Mormons giving him support. And, and it seems that religion is starting to play a major role in this election.
Way too much of a role in this election, I believe. I don't think, separation of church and state is a principle, and has been a guiding principle of this nation for a long time. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't express your religion, you can't practice your religion, but you just can't have. They didn't want religion getting into politics, and of course Huckabee is very strong on those issues. And this is what happens, is that we narrow it down to when you're talking about the kind of people who will vote religiously, you're talking about a people with a very, very narrow view of issues, and they have this litmus test for all the politicians that they like or don't like. And, you know the list. It's abortion, no homosexuality, no women's rights, the right to bear arms. It goes on and on and on and on. There's a whole long list of things that these people believe. And it's all part of a deeper concept that we, as a nation, one of the problems, why we're in all the problems, why we're having all these financial problems, why foreclosures are up, they attribute all of that to our that this country does not follow God's laws properly, and that the way to solve the problems that we have in this country and in the world is not, this is just part of it right here. This is only the home base insofar as these people are concerned.
Wait a second. These people are saying that we're not following God's laws. This is starting to sound like the people who are really paranoid about the Muslim community.
Oh, yeah, the Sharia law. It's the same thing. It's an American version of Sharia law. It's exactly the same thing, Rob. You know what? When I speak of Sharia law, you know what I'm talking about.
Tell the
Taliban. The Taliban was a classic example of that. You know, and that's why there was a big stink about what they were doing. Well, these people are the same way. They believe that the Bible should be the definer of the law, not the Constitution. The Constitution should be done away with. Any secular concepts of the way we practice law or anything to that effect, and they literally, quite literally, what's really strange is they want people stoned to death for committing these crimes, and they outline like a dozen different things that would warrant the death penalty, which is another interesting thing. The Supreme Court, for the first time in 100 years here in this country, is now dealing with a death penalty. Do you have the death penalty in Canada, Rob?
No.
Okay. Well, we do, but down here there's a lot of people that don't like it.
Only if it involves a police officer.
That's interesting. That's the only way you would support. Is that a death penalty in Canada for
yes, it
killing
is.
A police officer?
Yeah. I believe it still is. It used to be.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Well, down here it's a big issue, and what they're really contending with down here now. This is another thing another thing that the radical right really pushes. Even though Christianity is supposed to be a religion that forgives, the death penalty is very popular within religions down here. But they're deciding whether the injection method, which is used by 29 of the 30 states, I believe, that have the death penalty here in the United States, or something in that range, because of the fact that it may be cruel and unusual punishment, and they're dealing with that. And right now, all of the death penalties are on hold here in the United States. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Supreme Court decides about that. But that's just one issue. We have all these radical right-wing concepts here in the United States, and it's beginning to get really scary.
Patrick, stand by, buddy. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. When we come back, we'll take a look at tonight, and we'll see who's on the show tomorrow night as the X Zone continues on the Talkstar Radio Network. We're with you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, and then the show's repeated in its entirety from 2 until 6 a.m. My name's Rob McConnell. Patrick Cooke is our special guest, www.BibleUFO.com. We'll be back on the other side of this break from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, exclusively on Talkstar.
You can't touch this. Look in my eyes, man. You can't touch this. Yo, let me bust up on the lyrics.
There's a new kind of television station that presents movies without commercial interruption that you can watch without any sort of subscription fee. Find out online at whitesprings.tv. The people who bring you Talkstar Radio have a television network you can watch for free on the Internet, direct from space on your own small dish and receiver, or on a growing number of TV stations and cable systems across America. White Springs TV presents a great mix of movie greats and not-so-greats, as well as more recent family-friendly titles. The movies are commercial-free. Between the movies are cartoons, soundies, previews, classic TV, and two-reelers. Go to whitesprings.tv. That's www.whitesprings.tv. A service of White Springs Media, a new kind of commercial-free movie channel you can watch for free.
Whether it's the arrival of Planet X in 2012, the Earth's crazy weather cycles, our deadly global warming, Armageddon, UFOs, ETs, terrorism, the critical mass 2008 presidential elections, Dr. Jason Rand talks the talk and walks the walk. Being a twice-nominated Grammy record producer, recording artist, publisher, lecturer, UFO ET researcher and investigator, and best-selling author of
The Return of Planet X, Mankind's Ongoing Legacy with a Brown Dwarf Star,
Dr. Jason Rand truly does walk the walk and talk the talk. For more information on Dr. Jason Rand or to order The Return of Planet X, visit his website at www.returnofplanet-x.com or call 901-336-9660.
And where will you be in the year 2012?
I'm William S. Peckham. If you enjoy a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love my novel, From Out of the Woodwork. It's the story of a young Toronto contractor, Sean Kennedy, who buys derelict homes, guts them, and turns them into multifamily dwellings. Slums just waiting to happen. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, the house fights back. Former owners unexpectedly come out of the woodwork as he starts the destruction. The apparitions come to him when he touches old books, reads hidden letters, rummages through old boxes, finds a locket, or reads a discovered manuscript of a murder mystery. From Out of the Woodwork will take you from 1899 to the horror of the World Trade Center, September 11, 2001. Check out From Out of the Woodwork on my website, www.williamspeckham.com.
The new nonfiction book, Razor of Madness, is similar to cult movies like Clockwork Orange, Dragon's Tattoo, or The Other Side of Hell. Wayne Morin Jr. and Thomas Lee Howe will expose widespread and systematic deficiencies in this thought-provoking tell-all novel. Mind control rages among scholars in law schools. Human rights are ignored while thought reform and mental manipulation are accepted practices used as behavior modification. Dr. Louis Jolyon West comes to mind. Media and public scrutiny shows that United States mental hospitals are in fact destructive murder industries. Razor of Madness expose novel details this epidemic through an in-depth professional and personal investigation. For decades there has been a revolving door policy that still releases killers and pedophiles back into society. The maestro of mind control continues to haunt America to this very day. Razor of Madness is available in paperback or as a downloadable ebook at Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to take this opportunity of thanking all our guests tonight, Mark Ellen, Dr. Shelley Carr, Dr. Sky, and, of course, our guest this hour, Patrick Cooke. On tomorrow night's show, we have open mic, Dr. Henry Petrie, we have Kathleen O'Bannon, and a special surprise guest. That's tomorrow night here on the X Zone. Patrick Cooke's website is www.BibleUFO.com. And, Patrick, any word on the good old prophet Yahweh?
Oh, he's not doing anything. He's just, there's absolutely nothing from his side. We are making little progress from the standpoint of the Brighton Winter Cave, though.
Okay, what's going on with
We've
that?
got a line in on a carbon dating service. We're going to try to sweet talk them into giving us carbon dating on this bone that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And the word is spreading on that. But Prophet Yahweh's not doing anything. He's just being him, just bragging about all the money he's taking in and things like that. You know how he is.
Yeah, which means he's not taking any money in. All right, Patrick, let's finish off tonight with severe cold weather sends death rates soaring.
Yeah, this fascinated me when I heard this story. It's amazing that fatalities, this is just in the continental United States, but it's probably the same way up in Canada, tend to climb for several weeks after cold spells, numbering 360 per day or 14,300 a year. And what's fascinating about this is that, and I never knew this, deaths linked to extreme cold account for 0.8% of the nation's annual death rate. And that outnumbers those attributed to leukemia, murder, and chronic liver disease combined. I didn't realize that there was that much of an increase in deaths during a cold season. Were you aware of that, Rob?
No, not really. Those statistics actually took me by surprise, Pat.
Yeah. That's a fascinating thing to me. I know, I was always aware that very hot spells did that, but I didn't realize it. It almost seems logical, though. But that's really quite an increase.
I would imagine with the increased number of homeless people, those figures also reflect a number of homeless who die each winter, and now the numbers are increasing because they basically freeze to death.
Right, and we're getting a whole new class of homeless. Actually right here locally on a major AM radio station, one of the biggest in the country, there's a foreclosure company advertising $40,000 homes with $200 a month mortgage payments. Now, that sounds like carpetbagging to me on a grand scale when they're actually advertising on the radio to get people to buy foreclosed homes. Now, where are all the people that were in those foreclosed homes? They're out on the streets now. And this is a very bad time for this to happen, and it's just increasing. And in the UK, it's bad. I don't know what's it like up in Canada. Did you guys get sucked up into that too?
It really, we've got a lot of homeless up here. When you go to Toronto,
but I mean from the subprime thing.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you guys passed by barely. England got sucked up into it, and we got sucked up into it, and that's what's happening. Is the foreclosures are at an all-time high, and they're just going to get worse. So the homeless problem is going to get worse here in the United States. We're on the things are spinning real fast down here.
Pat, we've got to say so long for tonight. We're out of time, so thank you very much, Patrick Cooke, www.BibleUFO.com. To my producer at Master Control, the one and only Superman, thanks for keeping us up on those 3 big satellites in the sky, Galaxy 4R, Telstar 7, and Aglia 2, and around the world on TalkStarRadio.com streaming audio. To my wife and senior producer, the one and only Laura Rogers, thank you, sweetheart. And to you, the X-Zone Nation, thank you for allowing us to be part of your day, your night, no matter where you are in this great big world of ours. So until tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, when once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone, take care of each other and keep your eyes to the sky. And I'll